can be brave. We can be brave because we're filled with love from the bottom of God's heart. We can be brave. We can be brave.
Hi, I'm Alice Mortero, and I am a high schooler that's a parish member at Our Lady of Lourdes. I'm a part of youth ministry, and I went to grade school there. And today I'm going to be reading a story. So, just to remember that we are thinking about what it means to care for ourselves. Sometimes people make us think that it's selfish to love ourselves, but in the story Jesus reminds us that we must love ourselves when we love others. Jesus and the disciples spent a lot of time in Jerusalem. One day, he was at the temple, a place where people gathered to worship God, and he was teaching and telling stories. A lot of people listened eagerly, but many had questions. The temple leaders and elders were unsure of him and asked, "Who gave you the power to do and say these things?" Some were jealous and wanted to trick him, so they asked, "Should the people pay taxes?" Others were worried and asked him, "What happens in the resurrection and the afterlife?" Then, one temple leader was curious about Jesus. He saw that Jesus was wise and kind. He asked him, "Which one of God's laws is the most important?" Jesus answered, "The first is what we all know. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength." Before the temple leader could ask more, Jesus went on. The second is, love your neighbor as yourself. These are the two most important of God's laws. So, in this story, Jesus reminds us that his two most important commandments, to love God with all our heart, and then to love our neighbors as ourselves. Neighbor does not just mean the person who lives next to you. It means everyone in the world. This means that we should love every person we meet and treat them kindly because they are God's children, just like us. Jesus tells us to love our neighbor as ourselves, which means that we must also love ourselves. We remember that God made us, which means that we are all special. Even when we make mistakes, we are loved. When we feel discouraged, Jesus reminds us that we are brave, strong, smart, caring, and so many other things. Sometimes we even need to take time to remind ourselves of how awesome we are. When I feel sad, there are people who show me compassion and help me feel better. Some of these people are my parents, my siblings, my best friends, and my teachers. They show me compassion through their kind words and actions, and even just their smiles. When you feel discouraged, remember that God tells us to love ourselves and our neighbors. One group that shows compassion is Hand in Hand Ministries. They help people all over Kentucky and even the world by fixing their homes and providing important supplies. When volunteers work with Hand in Hand, they learn how to use many tools and perform different skills they didn't know how to do before. It often gives volunteers a boost in confidence when they learn to do something new. I know I have. It also exemplifies compassion through helping a neighbor. So you learn how to do something new for yourself, but also how to do that thing in order to help someone else. This organization lives out the commandment, love your neighbor as yourself. Thanks.